And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Mess Machine. In Mess Machine, you and the other players are working in a toy factory. The toy comes out all jumbled up, and you are working together to put the toy back together. But only one person can win. What is this I smell? Is that a semi-cooperative game? Well, not really. You are cooperatively trying to fix the toy together, but only one player is going to win. So it behooves you to work on fixing the toy, but there's a twist. Here it is. Each game is going to take one mixed up picture. You're going to mix up the tiles and place them. They all have a very, very small star in the corner. It's hard to see right there, so you know the orientation of each tile as you place them down. And you have 4 sets of tiles here. They each have a different color back. So you can see this one here has numbers on it, and one is a train, and one is an airplane, and one is a truck. And the back of the book shows you the finished picture. So this one here is the train. Okay, so you can see that. Each player is going to get 4 discs, A, B, C, and D. And you're going to pick 2 of them. So maybe I'll pick A and C. And one of these is going to be my primary function, and one's going to be my secondary function. I'm going to put these in front of me and put a little cog on the secondary function. Now, together, we as a group are going to solve this picture. And we're going to be using over here on this board. On your turn, you're going to take one of these tokens here, A, B, C, or D. A lets you switch 2 tiles. So for example, with A, I could switch this tile with this tile here. Or this with this, or this with this, this with this, this with this, etc. B lets you do the same thing. So let's say B, I could switch these 2, like that. With a C tile, I can switch 2 that are one space away from each other in a column. So maybe I would do that. And with a D tile, I could switch 2 that are right next to each other. So perhaps I would switch this one and this one. And the goal is, as you're switching these tiles, to slowly get the picture into place. When you use one of these operations, you'll take a disc of that color. Also, if when you're done switching, if either or both tiles that you have are now in the exact proper position, you will score a point here. And there's a token for each player to keep track of their points as they go around the game. Now, depending on the difficulty level of the game, when there's a certain amount of tokens that have been used up or are left, players will roll a die, and 1, 2, 3, and then in the bottom half 1, 2, 3, 4, and then those 2 tiles are going to switch. That's the difficulty of fixing the toy. And so now players are attempting to finish the picture together. When the picture is finished, or when one of these groups of button tokens runs out, the game is over. And or you agree that you can't really fix the puzzle anymore. If the toy is completely put together, players are going to reveal their direct. For their direct function, for each time they did that function, they'll have a button for it, they get 1 point. For their indirect function, they're going to get 2 points for each other player's token that is taken at. So here I'm hoping that other people are using the C's as often as possible. Now, if the toy was unsuccessfully put together, you only get points for your indirect button, and it's just 1 for every button that other players have in front of them. Whoever has the most points is the winner. If there's a tie, we go to the ones that you have for your direct button, and if there's still a tie, then it's just a straight up tie. You can also play a straight cooperative game where you're simply trying to put the picture together in the proper order, or you can play a family game in which you will use the 1 through 16. It's a little bit easier because most of the time you're going to want to do the picture, but the numbers can help because you know that they need to be in order, so it's a lot easier to figure out which tile goes where. Mess Machine is kind of a fascinating game. Okay, when I first saw it, we put it on like, oh yeah, it reminds me of those little puzzles. Flick, 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 and moving the little things around. You ever have one of those as a kid? You move stuff around? Well, this is kind of that way, except that you can switch pieces. I mean, if I gave this to you and said, solve this, how many moves would it take to solve it? And you're like, okay, flip these two, flip those two, flip these two. It would probably not be that difficult. But what makes this game fascinating is that secondary and primary function. Right, because the primary function you want to do as often as you can, but the secondary function is one you want other players to do. So when you're first starting out and you look at that picture, you got to think, okay, I think a lot of people are going to switch two tiles next to each other in the same row. So I'm going to take that as my secondary function and hope that's what everyone else takes as takes a lot of those actions. At the same time, you might say, well, I might do it myself. I'll get the points for it, and I'll pick a different secondary function and get points for that. So it's kind of fascinating because as the game goes by, if you get pieces in the correct spot, you get a point. So the game encourages you not just to be idiotic and put stuff, because someone who's actually trying to fix it is going to get points during the game, which could supersede any points you get at the end. You want to get points during the game and points at the end of the game. But wow, it's so intriguing because sometimes you will deliberately not fix part of a toy that you could fix because you don't want to use that button. You want someone else to press button A and take one of those tokens because it gives you 2 points. And so I found that this game is one of the first games that does this kind of semi-cooperative really well. It's kind of fascinating because you're all working together to fix this toy, but you're not working together. You're trying to be like, yes, you guys did a good job. Thanks for giving me points. And so I just found the idea cool. And I like the fact that they gave you 4 different pictures or 3 pictures in that training one because that kind of shakes things up. It doesn't really change how the game works. The quality for the game is okay. The tiles are a little thinner than I like it to be. And, you know, the whole A, B, C, D thing, I don't know. The pictures are fine, though. And moving the pieces around is cool. I picked this one for my top 10 innovative games of 2015 because I thought the idea of selectively moving this puzzle around it was really neat. And I mean, you could even deliberately mess the toy up so you only get points for the times that you move something, but then if you do that, the points that you've earned during the course of the game are going to count even more. Really good balancing factor. The game is not that long. Players can talk and give each other advice and say you should switch those pieces, and you're like, okay, are they really helping me? I think they're helping me, but do they really want me to take another one of the button D's? I don't know, maybe I'll do this button instead. But they knew you were going to think that and therefore said that, and then they move it themselves. What have you. The game is simpler than it sounds, maybe. Way deeper than it looks. It's very intriguing because I don't know that this cover in the game would make me think that's what it is, but there's some pretty interesting depth of strategy in here. Well, there's some tactics involved, but the strategy is pretty good. And yet the game doesn't take that long. And it's unlike anything I've played in a while. Yeah, a big recommendation from me, Mess Machine. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Unki de usza.